Welcome, Saints fans. Welcome to another video on the Saints TV YouTube channel. Hope you've all had a great week so far. I'm Jake. I'm joined by Woody, and today we're going to be talking about our captain, Jack Steele. Now, Jack has been a topic of discussion for the last few months in the Saints sphere in terms of St Kilda supporters' opinions on him, his season to date, but we're now going to be talking about his future and where he might fit into the St Kilda Football Club if he does fit in. And I thought it'd be good to get Woody on to share some facts on where Steele is at in terms of his football and also just get another opinion as opposed to just my opinion for the video. So Woody, thanks for jumping on last minute, mate. I appreciate you spending your time talking about our captain.
No worries, mate. I would be thinking about it anyway if I wasn't talking about it. So we may as well jump on and have a chat. No, lovely to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. It's been a few days. It's been a quiet week, actually, in terms of the Saints news. So we've been talking so much about the players we're going to be getting into the football club from other clubs, potential drafts. You know, we're so excited about what we're bringing in, but I thought today would be a good opportunity to talk about a player that. How does that affect this player in particular? Where does he fit into the midfield? If it is the midfield, what can we do to maybe prolong Jack Steele's career at St Kilda? And obviously your opinion on what you think will happen, because obviously he is contracted. We've talked about Cal Wilkie. He's contracted, but the Doggies have got a big offer on the table for him. Rowan Marshall is another one, contracted again. And Geelong are looking very strongly at him and believe that they've met. And then obviously there's Jack Steele, who only in the last few days, people have tossed up whether West Coast would be a good fit for him, whether that's part of the Liam Ryan deal and that sort of thing. So there's been a few articles that have talked about this, so I just want to get the facts out there straight away. And there is an article right here from Matthew Lloyd and sort of his opinions on what Steele says. So let's just quickly go through what he thinks. Lloyd feels the Saints have gone past Steele in the midfield, given their young generation of players coming through and the toll of playing an inside midfielder role in the modern game. He says it's a big call for St Kilda at the end of the year. He's contracted for next year. I think they've gone past him. You're captain of the club. I can understand him losing the captaincy and them saying, I'm just going to try and fight for my position. I'm not sure if there's another opportunity for him anywhere else. He seems to have lost his confidence. Now, I don't know if I completely agree with exactly what Lloydo is saying. I think we've got to be very careful in this situation when you look at other clubs and what they've done with captains and just leaders in general. What he brings to the table on that front, I think, is still very important, even behind the scenes in the locker room. And we talk about the fabric of a football club. He is part of that. And sometimes those things you can't really put on a piece of paper or a stat sheet. There's intangibles. So if we were to go down that road, I'd be a little bit worried about what that means in terms of the culture. But at the same time, you can understand, Woody, why I guess these conversations are taking place.
Definitely. Yeah, look, I get what Lloyd's saying. I do think he's maybe jumped the gun a little bit on Jack's overall usefulness for the club and in the competition as well. I think West Coast would happily take Jack Steele. I think there's quite a few clubs that would happily take Jack Steele. But as a general, I do understand his point. And if we mentioned this off air in terms of like who Jack is potentially reminding me of currently. And he reminds me a fair bit of Chris Newman from the Richmond Football Club about 10 odd years ago. A great captain for their club, really good player for a very long time. But as Richmond got good and was entering their premiership era, he was struggling to stay in that side. I could see Jack potentially going down that path as well. Mostly in the sense of, we've developed our midfield quite a bit. Jack is a stalwart of that, but I mean, longer term, his production might get overtaken by some of our kids, as Lloyd's mentioned. So I think a lot of it will come down to if Jack can play secondary roles to the midfield,
Spot on.
and if he can, elongate his career either in the forward line, maybe playing, might be a bit too hard for him, but even we're desperate for a back pocket that can lock down. Jack gets 14 odd tackles a game, so I'd love to see that happen. But he still has the ability there, so it's can we find a place for him outside of that midfield if our youngsters were to go past him.
Yeah, well, if football's evolving, and you look, I mean, obviously a different type of player, but you look at Dangerfield and how he's evolved his game based on the needs of his team. Obviously, Tomahawk's out. They've brought him into the forward line as a bigger body. Steele kind of needs to, I guess, look at examples like that to evolve his game. Is he in our top 3 right now, midfielders selected next season? And we'll do a little bit of an experiment on that shortly. But for you, when you're thinking of our starting midfield round 1 next season, is he in that centre bounce?
Probably to start the year. I don't know if that'd be the case halfway through or by the end of the year. I see him as that 3rd to 4th position mid next year, essentially kind of Garcia's role this year, and likewise Boxall, people that played that sort of position. I think him and McRae will have to share that position next year in that 3rd to 4th mid that has another spot on the field that they can sit. So you kind of can't have too many people just sitting on the bench that play one role. There needs to be a bit of flexibility. So I as you mentioned, I think Steele's got the potential to go forward, particularly forward. I'm not sure about the back as much, but I think he's reasonably strong overhead when his shoulders aren't bung and whatnot.
That's another thing too. His injury record hasn't been great. His body's been banged up, so it's you kind of judge him. We can only judge him as much as I guess we can right now. But his body has it been 100% this season? I mean, it's hard to really know because I feel like even last year we talked about at the end of the year his body was banged up for a lot of last year as well. So maybe it's a very similar case of Rowan Marshall. We're getting potentially linked to Flanders, McKenzie. If you can keep someone like Steele, maybe you get the best out of him somewhere else because he doesn't have to do all the work like he's used to with Rowe as well, with TDK. Maybe rest forward, prolong your career that way, but you still get that leadership quality and that tackling and pressure because I think I said before, he's averaging the 3rd most tackles per game in the AFL. So he's still maintaining that one part of his game that we kind of brought him into the club to do.
Yeah, bang on. And I think that's where he provides a fair level of difference to McRae in the guts. Yes. And even like while we've noticed that Windy's come on as a tagger over this year, last year, it's developed further. And he's even finding his own ball. There's games where Windy just isn't getting the tackles on a player. There's games where we've asked him to play on the wing. And he's done reasonably well there, don't get me wrong, but there's been moments where he hasn't been able to achieve that lockdown role inside. And Steele, for a majority of part, has been fairly consistent on keeping a guy locked down. Might not win a ton of it. I think he's averaged about 1.4, 1.5 centre clearances for the year. And when you're attending, I think 20 odd a match, it's not great. So that's where I think, Steely might not be a centre clearance mid going forward, but he could be a lockdown and provide a bit of an offensive side that, Windy might lack. So I could see next year Windy, Steele, McRae, and to a lesser extent, like Philippou, if his body is right, and maybe Owens if we want to create more opportunities for him. But I could see them all kind of sharing that big body 4th, whether we're going on the defensive side of things, maybe we're leaning towards Windy or Steele, and on the offensive side of things, we're probably going Pooh or Owens.
Even Hall.
Yeah, potentially Hall if we didn't want that big bodied element, but for sure. So I think he's got a place in the side, but it's going to be requiring him to elevate his game in other areas to make sure that he is in that side.
Yeah. So he was leading tackle getter, I think, for the year, obviously. And he averaged, I think he overall was the fifth. He was ranked fifth or sixth here for disposals. So Naz was obviously number one with 688. Then it was Sinclair with 620, McRae with 516, Marcus Winhager with 508, then Jack Steele with 438 for the season. So he's still, when you talk about, midfielders, he's still, I mean, actually, based on that, he's probably what you said, bang on that sort of fourth or fifth in line at the moment, because you'd think Sinks is getting the bulk of his possessions off half back, but he's another one that has that ability to go into the midfield. If we're getting someone like a Flanders who can play half back with Hasty, perhaps, Sinks has got probably more to offer in a centre bounce, but again, not in that contested perspective.
Yeah, definitely. And look, to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Sinks in the centre. I think it clearly works with Naz, and like there's times where it works with Sinks, but I think we need to keep at least one of those two off the half back. They're both incredible in that role, so I wouldn't want both of them in the guts. But yeah, I think that's where. Personally, I love Naz, so I'd always keep him in that guts. I'd love those breakaways, and that kind of leaves me thinking Sinclair's a half back. But as a general, yeah, I think there's a lot of potential if he can grow in certain elements. If Steely could lock down, we are desperate for a back pocket that can properly lock down. That'd be great. I don't see it happening, so I lean to the half forward sort of situation. But that also gives me the idea of like we're going to struggle to fit in a lot of our tall half forwards. I love Owens, but I think next year we're going to have too many half forward types. So one of Owens or Philippou needs to be in the guts fairly consistently, and Steele could be a rotating piece of that, obviously, but because of his defensive elements more than offensive elements, there is moments where I think he's just not going to be the right player for the guts, and that's where he has to sit at a half forward or the bench, and he needs to develop that game to make it work.
Okay, so let's try to do this. Let's see if he can fit in. So we've obviously got Marshall. We'll just put Marshall here because TDK is not on this list. So we'll just put Marshall there for now. Followers, we're going to go straight away. I'm assuming you're happy with that.
Yep.
And what, Windy?
Yeah, I'd be saying perhaps. Windy. Maybe you're looking at Philippou, maybe Garcia. But yeah, Windy, Garcia, Philippou, Malera, those sort of guys.
Boxall, I mean,
potentially, yeah.
Back end.
He did.
Okay, so that's that. I mean, it doesn't really matter whether it's Philippou or Garcia or Boxall. We just know it's probably not. I mean, it could be McRae. It could be.
Well, let's
be
maybe
Marcus out because he was playing wing, wasn't he? Marcus.
He was playing a bit of wing, a bit of half back. I think also maybe we do take Mateus out of there just to kind of show the need for moving Mateus from that half forward line. So I think if that's McRae? Garcia or McRae,
Okay, let's go with the youth. Okay, and then Mateus would probably just be on a half forward flank.
Yeah, and then we've got Owens probably on the other.
Yeah, we'll go Owens.
Do we have Sharman at centre half forward?
We'll go Sharman, yeah. So obviously we're not going to do the whole team, Saners. We're just going to do the areas that hone in on where Steely could best be utilised, and that is in these positions or here.
Yeah.
So pretty much from here. And he's not going on a wing. Steely is he's not capable of a wing. Windy is. So if anything, you could see a world where, say, this starts with a McRae, perhaps. Windy's here. Although I think Windy signing a bigger deal might mean he does want to be in the guts. But I
Probably.
mean, the wing's pretty close to the guts. You're going to get enough of the ball that way. And then this would essentially be a Jack, like this position could be just locked in as a Jack McRae, Jack Steele rotation, you know?
Yeah.
And then you've got, Garcia, Naz, maybe Windy goes through there as well. Boxall can go through there. Because if we're ready, if we're planning for win now and we want to be making the finals next season, I think you always need at least one of the senior heads in there, especially if you're
Yeah.
losing like Zachy Jones. Let's just assume that maybe he's not going to be part of the plans.
I also think
Maybe
next
that.
year it's going to be a bit tough to keep Brad Hill and
Yeah.
and Mason Wood in the side.
Yep.
With further development to Wilson, other youngsters that they might struggle to keep those wing spots. As we've seen, Marcus has been there. We're struggling to fit everybody now as midfielders, so
Yeah.
it's going to get tighter for positions next year. That's for sure.
Yeah. So you got Higgins. Dan Butler's one that could be traded as well to West Coast, perhaps, like for Liam Ryan. We'll see what happens there. But then you've got this position here. So I don't know. That to me, that's a max. That would be maybe a Max Hall. That will be Liam Ryan. Like that will be Liam Ryan.
Yeah,
Locked in,
I mean that's it. And like say Max is there for now, but I mean we're gonna struggle to fit them all. And like we haven't put Steele in the side, but
No.
I mean when you're looking at it, he's not going to go on the defensive side of things.
There's nothing here that he will do, and he's not a winger, so it's here or these.
Yeah, and that's where I think he will provide a lot of good forward half pressure. We've been desperate for it for this year. Higo's done all right, but he's more of that crumbing goal scoring type. So I can see the need for him in a half forward line. But when you're developing Boxall, you're developing Travalia, you're developing a lot of these kids. It's hard to see where he fits if there is a sudden jump from some of these kids, and that's the worry that I think Matthew Lloyd might have been alluding to.
100%. And he's got until the end of 2027 on his deal. So we'll just jump to obviously where he's at right now. So these are his averages for the season. His best performance was against the Suns, 33. Most tackles, 15, was enormous that day. Obviously, they're his career bests. All of them prior to pretty much, most of them, yeah, prior to 2023, apart from this one.
Yep.
That's not screaming, most.
Well, there's very little that's elite there. Tackles definitely, but and that's where he will offer a bit. And Matty Lloyd's probably jumped the gun a little bit quickly here, but I can see his point. I can definitely see his point.
So that's when he was absolutely elite in the Brownlow conversation in 21. You can see like nearly 30 disposals and nearly 9 tackles a week. Sensational. Like that's hard to maintain as an inside mid. Like that's hard to rock up every single week and do that. And if anything, yeah, he's at career best tackles, but it's everything else. Goal 0.2. He was going at 0.6 in 20 and 21. And then disposals every year pretty much has just gradually decreased. And his handballing, he's always been a handball happy type of player, I suppose, playing it more of that contested game.
Handball first, that is for sure. Yeah.
What's his value? What's his value, Woody, in a trade? If it got down to it, obviously, I would love to keep him, but I also don't want to be just sentimental for the sake of it, because I think we're maybe past that point as a footy club. I don't know. I just think we seem pretty ruthless on a lot of fronts, and it wouldn't surprise me if we are also ruthless on this front.
I I struggle to read his value. I think to some
Mm.
sides he might be worth a first. It wouldn't be many, but it'd come down to two sides of the ladder that he might be worth a first for. The very top end of it, maybe a Geelong, maybe they're willing to do it because they're so close to a flag. The very bottom sides as well, he could be high second sort of first area, in the sense of West Coast, Richmond, those sort of clubs. He could provide enough for them to give away first. But that'd be the very top end of his sort of value.
And yeah, and
Um,
if you're the club, sorry to jump in, but if you're the club and then you get, say you play him next, you keep him this off season and he plays next season, but he plays to the same level, he's sub more, he doesn't hit any sort of great, he doesn't improve, he doesn't kick more goals. We try it, it doesn't work. You've kept a player on big money, and then he's obviously then there's no point trading him next season because he's got a year on his contract. It's pretty much,
I think
we can't turn him into a Dane Zorko off halfback where he can just prolong his career. He doesn't have that sort of ability at the moment.
Look, if it doesn't work at half forward, it'll be difficult. If he's not able to develop his side, in a forward half aspect, rotations with Philippou, Owens, those sort of bigger bodied half forward types. Maybe even if Sharman were to be injured, right, he is another player that we could pop in there to muscle out in some contests. But if it doesn't work and we were to get to the end of next year and we're kind of sitting here going, all right, now we really don't know what to do with Steele. I would almost prefer to go down that path in some regards. The reason being, obviously he's a big club culture man, but I look at Newman. I look at some of those sides that finally got it done, and I mean, you can look at even just Andrew Swallow over this last weekend, right? Gets back into the side, gets their side over the line, and it's a really emotional piece for the club. And I think there is a level of footy is like a lot more than you think is between the years. Like when you start looking at stats and you realize how tight the competition is, you go, oh, well, a lot more of it's got to be mentality than I think. That extra 5% or so could just be how you go into a game. This could be how you feel post last week's loss or last week's win. So for me, I think if we get to next year and it doesn't work, his value would be too low elsewhere to be worth moving him on. And I think those moments that he could provide, coming back into the side, getting us over the line, would be worth more than a late third.
That's the sentimental side of things, obviously.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
we are hoping that. But by the same token, is he the type of player that would happily understand that maybe next season he won't play every week? And we're already talking about Cal Wilkie potentially being captain, so he might be not even in the leadership. Maybe he's in the leadership group. Maybe he's joint captain, or he's just happy to just be another player now. He's done his time as captain, or he is captain. Maybe there's no. They might just vote because the players vote. If they rate Steele in that capacity.
There was an interview. I can't remember who it was, where it was, but there was an interview. I don't know, last month of the season, and Steele mentioned that he had some thoughts through the season, like, oh, geez, like is this it? Yes. I remember him specifically saying those words, and he must have already had a lot of these thoughts, essentially going, can I be the player I want to be? Can I be the player I was 2-3 years ago? Is it just because certain parts of my body is letting me down, or is this my age starting to catch up with me? These are questions I'm sure he's had a lot of thoughts about, more than we would have as fan. And that's where I think he would be cognizant of all these thought processes. He would be sitting there going, Yeah, exactly. I believe this is the right article. But yeah,
Sounds
I
right,
think
yeah.
he'd be sitting there going, am I going to be captain next year? Is it best for the club? What would be my role going forward? He would know all these things that we've discussed. The club would be further ahead of this sort of thought process than us. I think we discussed this halfway through the year. I was saying I couldn't see Steely longer term playing anywhere but like half forward flank, pinch hitting in the mids. And it's really just the type of player he is. Great defensive mid, not getting it forward as much as we like. Strong overhead when his arms and all that are good. Probably not the longest kick, struggling to kick it from about 50 these days. But if he's marking it from about 35 to 40, he's
Yeah,
probably all right.
he's a pretty good set shot. You'd
He's
back him
he's,
in
he's a
most
dead eye. He's not the
situations.
longest kick, but he's a dead eye.
Uh,
And yeah, I think that's where he definitely could provide something, but he would have had a lot of these thoughts where we're just kind of getting to
you,
these.
you can tell even just by the way he answered these questions after he was the sub, which was interesting, but I didn't read too much into it. I just thought we've got more players to come through. And this was in preparation for his 200th to get himself right. He had a pretty good day there. We won. We beat the Tigers, I think it was. But he was asked. He's like, yeah, I'm happy. Obviously, you can see what we're building. It's pretty special and exciting. I'm just trying to get through the year first too. I suppose I'll deal with that when it's all said and done. When asked if there was nothing in the trade speculation, he said, I've deleted social media. I don't watch any footy, so I couldn't give a rat's ass about it today. I'm happy at the club and I just want to see this team do well and see the boys do well. So that's all my primary concern is for the rest of the season. I love that.
Yeah.
You can tell that he loves the club, but you can also tell that he probably thinks that maybe some of these decisions won't be in his control.
Yeah.
Even though he's contracted,
they're probably
he's got
not the best for him. If he's thinking about his position long term and the club's position long term, I'm sure he'd like to spend as much time in the guts for the rest of his career as possible. But if he's noticed the development from Wanganeen Malera, he's hoping that Philippou gets back to the form that he was in at the back end of last year.
Yeah,
I can see why he thinks, all right, maybe I'm the third to fourth mid going forward. If Garcia jumps, if Boxall jumps, it's going to be hard to fit him in. If Windy continues to develop on the path he has, fixes up his kicking mostly, but if he continues to keep growing, yeah, it's going to be hard to fit.
He explains it. He explains it. He says if it means I'm sort of sitting out, so maybe playing in the Saints VFL team for all we know, playing less minutes overall in a different position. It's all for the team. And as long as we win, that's the purpose of what we're here for and what we're trying to do at the Saints. And that, do you know what? That's a really good, that kind of reminds me of just all the best teams in the comp and how players kind of put their egos aside for a second for the greater good. And the greater good is to win this club a second flag. And if he thinks the best way to do that is for people like him to just take what's coming and play less football, but then when they get their chance to make the most of it, maybe that's a sign of this culture being really strong, If it wasn't, he would be wanting out. He would be doing a merit and saying, see you later. I want more minutes. I don't care if me playing less means Garcia gets a gig and that means we may be a better long term. I'm being selfish. I just want to play. But clearly, he's not being selfish. He understands where he sits. He understands the trajectory of the club and of the players coming in. He knows Naz is the number one banana. He knows that the young kids are probably passing him on a consistent basis. But he's taken that in his stride, and I really respect that about Jack Steele. I think that says a lot about his character in my eyes.
Likewise. And for me, look, if Jack really wanted to move on, right, and go be at a very top level, like if he wanted to go to Geelong, give his best shot at maybe not being a starting midfield there either, but getting that premiership opportunity and calling it quits early in his career, I could see why he might want to do that. But if he wants to stick around at St Kilda and he recognises these things that he says he does, then I think I don't want to put this in the wrong way, but I think he would have accepted his medicine, right, in a lot of regards, and gone, all right, well, if I want to be there seeing all these people that I love, that I've been with for 5+ years now, get the thing we've all been trying to do, then yeah, maybe I do have to take a somewhat backwards role. Maybe I do need to pinch hit as a forward, and maybe it's not every game. Maybe it's when I get my opportunities, I've got to show why I was captain and why I'm still at this club and why, I'm still an amazing player and part of this Kilda history. But, that's up to him to decide in a lot of ways. And it feels like he wants to see it out and try and get the results that he's been aiming for. So for me, if we're going to trade Jack, it's the year to do it now, right? It is. But I don't know that there's a club up the very top like Geelong that would put him in a better position right now to kind of get it done. And I would almost feel bad selling him to a bottom like a club that's worse.
That's the thing. He would need to want to go to these clubs. Like
exactly.
He would need, if it's a West Coast, he would need to say, yeah, I'm happy to do that. But if he believes there is a role for him at the club, and obviously our trajectory the next few years is, it doesn't take a scientist to realize we should be better than West Coast, even though we lost to them this year. He would absolutely take less game time, less responsibility at St Kilda than to end his career elsewhere in I couldn't stand seeing Jack Steele in a different jumper, not winning every week and not doing it with his teammates. So maybe we've answered the question. Maybe we've answered the question inadvertently, because I'm kind of like, I get why we would trade him, but he would want out, and I don't want him going to it. Like, I'd love to see him win a flag, but I don't want to see him do it anywhere else. But maybe that's sentiment. The sentiment's kicking in. It's hard with the
I think if there was, like, if Geelong really wanted him, one of those sides that's really close to the top. If they really wanted him and were happy to pay overs, and Jack wanted to go there, I'd do it. This is probably the year to get the most value back. But if Jack really, I don't think those options exist. I don't think Jack particularly is chasing down a similar role, a third, fourth midfielder at another club. I don't think he's desperate to do that. So for me, he probably stays. We probably have another chat this time next year about, how did it all work? Is he able to be that third, fourth banana and pinch hit as a half forward? And look, if it doesn't work, we probably don't get anything out of Jack. We probably never get a first. I don't even see the value in trading him at that point, because he's probably a third rounder at best. But, as I said, I would prefer him to stay around for the opportunity to help us get over the line, the mental fortitude he'll bring to the boys for being there through the worst of it all, having done finals before for the club, that sort of stuff. Like, he would provide more for us this time next year, had it not worked, than say a third rounder or so that might become a player in 3-4 years that we can really plug into the side. Correct. So, and I just don't see it ever being worth it. If Collingwood or Geelong, one of those sort of top Victorian sides, came along and really wanted to pay overs, I'd do it. But I don't see it happening.
Ross has made it very clear that all of our contracted players, if you want them, you need to pay up. You need to give us something. Obviously with Marshall and Wilkie, it's a bit easier to do because they're probably more in their prime at the moment, but I think the same would have to be said, especially when you're talking about our captain. And the main reason why I wanted to do this video was obviously there's a lot of talk about Zach Merritt being a captain. He wants out. Our captain wants to bloody stay. You can tell. He wants to stay. He is contracted. It's not like we need to sign him on or anything. It's done. I think his deal was pretty front-ended for the next 2 years, so I don't know if he's on, I said huge money, but I think he's been on huge money. I'm not sure if 26 and 27 he will be on huge money. So if a West Coast came along and he wanted to cash in, to pretty much earn less, win a
Get another
flag, or
contract.
play finals or get another contract and just earn heaps because West Coast can afford it. Maybe then that would be something that could turn his head. But I just think right now, I don't think we're going to lose anyone, man. I actually genuinely think we're not going to lose anyone this offseason.
If we were to lose anybody, I think it's going to be Marshall.
Ooh,
But
okay. I would have said, I was thinking more Steely, but now, you could be
the only
right.
reason I say that is because Marshall has that top level Victorian club asking him to come. I don't see this year's first as really worth the first. But also, if Geelong think they could go back to back with flags, I mean, I'd be asking for this year's first and next year's first, and then it's almost
do it.
worth
They won't
it.
do it.
I don't think they'll do it, but if they want him, I could see them going, hey, well, next year's going to be pick 20 odd. We're gonna give them pick 25 this year. It's pretty close to Marshall's value, like, to be honest. So
if it's not way overs, it's not happening.
Yeah.
The ruck rules are changing. We've got 5 on the bench.
But then that's my question. With the ruck rules changing, is pick 20 and 25, at that point, does it become way overs? Because I don't think Marshall can really jump in a ruck. As much as I love him, he's a good around the ground ruck, but I don't see the ruckman skills enough from him to adapt to that change.
Yeah.
And then is pick 25 and pick 20 odd worth it? Almost.
Time will tell, my friend. Time will tell. But that is a video for another time. This is a wrap on Jack Steele. So your gut feel is he is going to stay. We won't trade him, and it'll be a feel-good story when he kicks the winning goal.
Probably gets us to the grand final, and then we have a real headache on our hands. Does he play in the granny?
Do we pick him? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's no sub.
There's no sub. But to be honest, I'm going to make a video. Just make the emergency subs. I'm going to put this out here right now. I'm going to do a whole 10-minute video.
Back row. Yeah.
But just make them subs, because the whole reason we brought the sub back was because people kept getting concussed, and then there was 3 on the bench versus 4. All that's going to happen is people are still going to get concussed, except there's going to be 4 on the bench versus 5. That's all that's going to change. And in 4 or 5 years' time, we're going to bring the sub back. I'm Nostradamus this with a magic ball. I can tell you what's going to happen. So just make the emergency subs. It's going to happen in 5 years' time. Just do it now. Just do it now.
He's in rant mode, Sainers. He's in rant
sorry,
mode.
Guys. I got distracted.
Do you want to give a quick plug to your latest video, though? That's really good. Just to everyone watching to check it out.
So I had a bit of luck this year. My prediction going into the year turned out to be pretty close. And I made a video about it going over my results versus other media personalities' results. And it seems like I might have come first, but it's up to the world to decide. Squiggle thinks I came first, though, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. I'll put a link in the bio as well, and they can check it out.
Cheers.
Awesome. Well, that's a wrap, Sainers. That's a bit more of an in-depth. I didn't realize we were going to go for 40 minutes on that one, but Jack Steele is our current captain. It's a big talking point. What does his future hold? Put it in the comments. We want to know where you think he fits in, if he does fit in at all. What would you do in his situation? And do you think, what's the best outcome for the footy club and for Jack long term? So hopefully you enjoyed this more detailed video, more of them to come. Until then, enjoy your weekend. Take care. And as always, go you mighty Sainers. See you guys.
Go Saints.